Okay, this is just one more of those little... Let's kind of fill in the gap here while both of us are gone this time in totally opposite directions.
You still driving right now?
I have no... I am leaving on Halloween.
Oh, okay, you're leaving tomorrow then.
Yes.
Right on. I'm at Universal right now, for sure. Halloween Horror Nights meetup tonight.
I was lost in your whole talking like we're in that real time thing. It's confusing.
You get used to it after a while, but even sometimes you make errors.
Because my first thought was, dude, I still do not drive. What are you talking about? Oh, he means the... Oh, okay. Hi, I'm wasting your time. We're going to start with Knock Knock. Okay. I just recently talked about The Green Inferno.
Yep.
And when I was talking about that movie, I was talking about Eli Roth's filmography. And I'm going to be honest with you, I knew this existed. I knew the girl from The Green Inferno was in it, and I knew that it starred Keanu Reeves, and that it was some horror thriller or something that was coming out on VOD. I did not know that it's yet another Eli Roth movie. I had no idea. Because it turns out that girl from The Green Inferno is actually his wife in real life. So we're probably gonna be seeing a lot of her in his filmography from now on. Maybe. Assuming they last. So we have... That's mean, I shouldn't say that. I don't know them. So anyway...
You don't know Hugh.
The plot of this movie is actually a remake of a movie called Death Game with Colleen Camp and Sandra Locke. Interestingly enough, Colleen Camp and Sandra Locke are executive producers on this movie. So there's that. And the story of this is Keanu is really happy. He's got his family, he's got his wife, he's got his kids, he's got Father's Day cake. It's Father's Day today. And everything's really great. He does this monster thing that's kind of like Fletcher Reed's The Claw. It's kind of like, I guess that's his thing. And they're just a really, really, really happy family. Nothing can ever possibly go wrong in their lives, ever for the history of eternity. And then he is left alone. He is left alone on Father's Day. Great plotting.
No lie.
And we have a character who pops in and out named Lewis, I believe, who is Aaron Burns, who was Jonah, I believe was his name in The Green Inferno. The friendly guy. I am not quite sure after watching both The Green Inferno and Knock Knock what Eli Roth has against this guy.
Oh, man.
I think you know what I mean by that. So anyway, yes, it is raining. He gets a knock on his door, and there are two beautiful girls there. And they do Eli Roth's signature slow burn until they fuck. And that's what goes down. And then, of course, blackmail ensues. And so many other plot turns, I guess. You remember when I was saying, when I reviewed The Green Inferno, that I admired Eli Roth, and I think that he is an asset to the horror genre for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But one of these days, it could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be years from now, Eli Roth is gonna make a shitty, shitty fucking movie. I still don't think this is that movie, but he's getting ever closer.
Wow.
He's really, really getting close. One of these days, that total and complete Eli Roth shit bomb will be dropped on us. Just keep your helmets nearby. It's coming, I think. But in the meantime, these girls are just really fucking weird, and that's what most of the movie is. He comes into the kitchen, he thinks they've left, they haven't. They're in the kitchen, everything's a mess, they're drinking syrup out of the bottles like they're in Super Troopers. They're eating breakfast out of the dog's bowl. I don't know, because crazy, I guess. And then, as the blackmail ensues, inevitably being an Eli Roth movie, it becomes a torture movie.
Of course.
Not like a bloody one, but like it's... Well, okay. They kind of... They tie him to a chair, and they gag him, and they taunt him, and they... The thing they do for Payne, though, is that he's a DJ, by the way. So, what they do to torture him is they put headphones on him and they blast static into his ears until it's painful. And do all these kind of mundane tactics, kind of teasing whether or not they plan to kill him or just, to fuck with him. I gotta stop right now to talk about Keanu Reeves. Okay. So, there have been many times where I defend Keanu Reeves. He's really making a comeback here, especially with, the unexpected success that John Wick found. Deservedly so, of course. And he's shown that I really liked the movie he directed and was in, Man of Tai Chi. That's a badass movie. However, the thing we gotta talk about here is Reeves' performance in this. Now, I had heard some things, very, very small things, but I just kind of thought nothing of them, because it's like, yeah, people bashing Keanu Reeves, big deal. That's always the way it is. Well, the movie begins, and he's fine. He's doing kind of the dad thing, but he's clearly, he's really, really into this movie, and really, really into this part that he's playing. So much so that you can say, hey, look, it's Keanu Reeves having fun. That's nice. He's just kind of, being wacky or whatever, being wacky dad and all that. But as this movie goes, so does he. It's a marvel, really. I'm not quite sure how to explain this performance, but he goes a bit over the top. And when I totally get, okay, imagine this, if you will. This is Keanu Reeves we're talking about. Once he goes off the deep end, I was so totally, completely getting Nicolas Cage vibes.
That's awesome.
I'm not sure what it is. I don't know. I don't know that awesome's the word I would use, but it's definitely something. It's one of those parts where, obviously when you're doing torture movies, your dialogue tends to run out pretty quickly. So, they're doing their things, they're doing their girly things, like, we're girly, but we're also crazy thing, that you've seen a billion times before. And by that point, once that becomes the thing, about 95% of Keanu Reeves' dialogue is him just screaming the words, fucking bitches! Just, that's like all his dialogue is for like the entire second half. Like I said, I have no idea if it's one of the worst performances I've ever seen, or if it's amazing. It's somewhere in one of those.
Sounds fun.
And that's kind of what the rest of the movie is. And it kind of grows tired after a while. It gets to the point where they go for shock value. Like, one of the girls starts to put on his daughter's clothes. His daughter's like 10. But she puts on his daughter's clothes, and like rapes him while he's tied to the bed, and saying, daddy-daughter things. It's kind of clear shock. Like, it's not one of those, oh my god, this is messed up, or like, oh man, this is going there. No, it's just like, I know what you're doing here, but there's a lot worse out there. Try harder. Or not even that, just stop trying. Just gotta do and make it work. That would be helpful. As I was saying before about Colleen, I didn't see any Sandra Bullock, but Colleen Ham does have a cameo in this as the concerned neighbor. She's like Sandra Oh in Hard Candy. And that's pretty much the extent of her. And that's kind of what it is. Like I said, it's still not the ultimate complete shit bomb I'm expecting Eli Roth will eventually lay on us. But this movie is certainly not very good. And it gets really, really redundant and has absolutely nothing new to offer. It's actually quite forgettable, despite how much shock value it tries to throw in. And the ending is entirely unsatisfactory. I have no idea how we're supposed to take this ending. I guess I understand not ending a movie with closure, but I have no idea why this movie ends the way it does. And they kind of pluck a little from Fight Club in the end credits song as the Pixies, Where's My Mind? So there's that. There is one thing in this movie, though, that really stands out that is never, ever, ever discussed, and I am wondering what we're supposed to make of it. Because there is something in this movie that could potentially be a huge deal, but it's never, ever touched on. And that is the fact that, obviously, he banged these girls over the night. Both of them. Vigorously. So, the next morning, when we see all the shit that's kind of, the whole house is just ransacked and torn apart and trashed and just every other verb like that. And they've also taken to doodling on the family pictures. There is one thing we see very, very quickly that could just be them being mischievous, or it could be a total and complete bomb that this movie dropped on us and it's just not going to explore and we just have to go, oh shit, that's probably going to be a problem. Like I said, it could just be them just writing stuff to be funny and mischievous. But there is a moment where we quickly pan by a family portrait, and written in red letters across the sun, bordering the son's picture, are the words, "My dad has AIDS now." And that is never mentioned apart from that. And I'm thinking, are they just writing silly things on the pictures? Or is that a reveal to something that's going to be a really big deal once the events of this movie pass? I'm not sure. We never go into it. But I wondered about that. So maybe that adds a whole other thing to the post-events of this movie. I don't know, because the movie just kind of abandons us at a weird point. So, that's what that movie is. Yeah, I suppose it could have been a lot worse, but it's not very good. This is one of those ones where I think it had a half star more before I started this review.
That's how it goes with you most of the time.
Okay, our second movie. Now we get the real deal. Our second movie is Pay the Ghost, which stars Nicolas Cage. A horror movie starring Nicolas Cage. Yes! Okay. So, the movie begins in the year 1679. And this scene lasts for about 10 seconds. It's just really, really setting up something. And there's no present day or 2015 or whatever. It's just like a 10-second scene set in 1679. And then, present day, by the way. And the story we have here is we have Cage as the all-popular neglectful dad. Not only is he the neglectful dad, he's the neglectful husband. And it's Halloween time. The kids are going to go trick-or-treating and carve pumpkins and all that. But damn, that neglectful dad, he's always never on time. What a bummer. So, finally, he gets home just in time. They didn't get to carve the pumpkins, they didn't get to go trick-or-treating, but they can go to the carnival. The mom says it's time to go to bed, but Cage never gets to spend time with his son because he's being a neglectful dad somewhere. So he says, I'll take him to the carnival for about a half hour. Great. So, sorry, that was Owen Wilson, not Nicolas Cage, but it was kind of a combination of the two. So, they go to this Halloween carnival that's also kind of like a parade of sorts. And the kid is seeing visions of, like, vultures and shit. And then just up and disappears after saying the words, Daddy, are we gonna pay the ghost? And they really, kind of jump us forward here, because it's like the kid goes missing, the parents are devastated, they can't find him anywhere. Boom! 1 year later, the words come up on the screen. And he is still investigating this deeply and becoming obsessed with it and all that. Doing all that stuff. There is an interesting story to be had in this movie. I was telling you, it's basically sinister. It's basically sinister with a few tiny, tiny story tweaks, and starring Nicolas Cage. So we have the normal, very small release type movie like this, where it's like really bad CGI and the writing is really not good, and things just kind of feel a little thrown together. But there's a little more than this than like the past couple of Cage movies we've had. This one's a step in the right direction, I guess. Even though we do have a lot of those really annoyingly redundant scenes that we have in all of these movies. There is a moment where he has a dream where the kid is just standing in his bedroom and he's like, "Oh my God, son, you've returned," and he's doing the whole thing, and then there's a jump scare, and then he's dreaming. And it's like, yeah, I kind of imagined that the movie he would have disappeared about 10 minutes ago in movie time, and then he just kind of reappears in the bedroom and the movie's over. Yeah, I totally thought that was the direction that scene was going. There was no way it wasn't a hallucination or a dream, no way whatsoever. Totally at my fault. And then, right after that, we get the other scene, which is basically just like that. He's walking down the sidewalk, and here comes a bus. And lo and behold, who do we see through the window of the bus but the missing kid, making a troubled face with his hands against the glass, driving away in the bus. So now that we know this whole scene already before it even happens, we have to watch Cage run after the bus, and continue to run after the bus, and run after the bus, and finally, after a long chase scene, catch up with the bus. And oh no, he gets on the bus and makes a scene, but the kid's not there. Oh my God. So it's that kind of movie. You pretty much know this movie front to back now, don't you? You just have to know those two scenes, and you know exactly the kind of movie you're dealing with, and that's really exactly what it is. No, we do. Okay, it's not without some genuinely creepy moments. There are some scenes that, like I said, they are very sinister light, but there's still kind of a creepiness going on here. There's one really, really good scene where I was like, wow, that was way too impressive for this movie. And it's when Stephen McHatty's in this movie, and I didn't know that till the credits because you can't recognize him, but he is like a blind homeless person with the whole thing and everything. And he's kind of investigating them because he found like Pay the Ghost graffiti in that area of town. And while he's kind of, you know, talking to these people in this little underground area with like the fire barrels and shit, the guy is just talking, and you see like this demonic face over his shoulder for just a second. Like it flashes there and then it's gone over his shoulder. But nothing draws attention to it. There's no loud noise. There's no noise at all. It's a completely silent moment where the guy's just talking, and you see the face over his shoulder for a second, and then it disappears into the night really quickly. And I was like, wow, this movie actually knew what it was doing, and did it the right way for a fraction of a second. I don't even care if it was a fraction of a second. I appreciate it. I am glad you did that. Because it seemed like... It just seemed like really from out of nowhere in a movie like this. Because I was like, where's the loud noise? Where's the really fucking annoying soundtrack? I don't understand. Did this movie do that just now? Did I hallucinate it myself? I don't know. But this movie was clearly making me lose my mind, it seems. And there's actually some potent scenes involving the husband and wife thing. Where they're not even horror related. It's the son's missing and she blames him and they're both devastated and it causes a rift between them thing. There's some really good scenes involving that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it is a pretty mediocre horror movie with all the turns, you know. We have that character that is kind of slowly investigating the whole thing, and then just as she finds out just the right amount of information and knows exactly what's going on, she goes flying out a damn window and it gets impaled. So yes, there's nothing new here whatsoever, but there are some things in there that kind of make it rise above. Cage, say what you will about him, and given the kind of material that he has to work with, is surprisingly decent here. He doesn't really... For Cage, he doesn't really overdo it. And he has some genuinely emotional scenes here. So yes, it's definitely not a bad movie, and if you're a fan of the genre, you'll probably kill time with it and you'll be fine. It's just really nothing new at all. You've definitely seen stuff like this. Especially, it's got a lot of sinister in it. Like, a lot of sinister. So...
One or two.
given that it's mostly mediocre, but there's some portions of it that aren't that bad, somewhere in the middle, I'd say.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we're leaving the horror genre now.
Because it's Halloween tomorrow, so we have to do horror movies on this video, at least one.
Our third movie is a movie called Infinitely Polar Bear, that I believe was at Sundance. That stars Mark Ruffalo and Zoe Saldana. This is a movie about a family in the 70s, 1978, which I believe was the exact same year the Big Stone Gap was set.
It was.
And they're trying to lead a normal, happy life while dealing with the head of the family, who is a Ruffalo, who suffers from manic depression. Having said that, it's a quirky little comedy drama, but the producer is J.J. Abrams.
What?
I'm not. Zoe Saldana connection, I guess. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of.
That's
crazy.
I was watching. I was like, "Oh right, family drama with some comedy thrown in. This will be nice and lovely." And then here comes that bad robot logo, and I was like, what? Am I watching again? I don't remember." Suddenly. So anyway, so Ruffalo obviously kind of goes off the deep end eventually and gets put in a like a halfway house. And it basically becomes his goal to show that he can be responsible and be on his own and be able to take care of the kids without his wife's help. Because she has to, he'll kind of be the wife and she'll be the one that works. There's actually an argument about that exactly. And where one has a husband that wants to be a wife and one has a wife that wants to be a husband, and that's why they don't get along. And on top of all of his issues as well. If you're wondering what in God's name the title means, there is, it made perfect sense to me as soon as they said it. I was like, oh, yes, of course. Obviously, Ruffalo's character is found to be bipolar. So, when the younger daughter is trying to explain this to the people at school or on the playground, she mistakenly calls it polar bear. So,
okay, I see where that's going.
Now, this, it took this movie a little while to grow on me. For a while, it was like, it was one of those movies where it's like, oh my god, this quirkiness is just making me want to bash my own head in. And you weren't quite sure, with movies like this, you have to be careful, because you kind of watch it and you're starting to wonder, like, what's going to be kind of miscalculated, and maybe some decisions will be made. That whole using this content for comedy could really, really work, of course. But it could also just crash and burn embarrassingly, especially for Ruffalo, because Ruffalo's got that part to do. But if you know better and you know just how skilled and incredible of an actor Ruffalo is, you would not feel in any trouble whatsoever. Because he really, really, he perfectly balances making this character as lovable as possible, while also showing just how difficult he is to deal with. He finds exactly that perfect place to go and hits both of them just absolutely perfectly. Dude's acting skills are like out of this world. I don't know how he does it. And the great thing about it, that I really started to like after a while was, this is some pretty serious subject matter we have going on, and there's some really, really sad scenes going on here at times. Like the scene where they visit him for the first time is like really sad. Just in a, not even like an in-your-face way. You're just kind of, this is just kind of what they have to deal with, and it's just like, oh, this is taking the life out of me. This is terrible. But the movie is really optimistic. Like, like generally in movies that are like really depressing, you would see where like, for every really happy moment, there's a sad moment to punctuate it. But this one actually like flips it in a really unusual way. And for every sad scene that we have, there's always something happy or funny that happens to punctuate it. And it kind of gives the movie like this consistent optimism throughout it that makes it kind of a feel-good movie while also having those serious elements in it that are kind of, for lack of a better word, depressing. And it's interesting to see this as the writer and director is the person that wrote Diary of a Wimpy Kid 3, Monsters vs. Aliens, and The Rocker. which is an interesting resume to have.
I actually like all three of those movies.
Going into a movie like this. Yeah. So, yeah, the performances are very good. Zoe Saldana is very good as well. She's really starting to grow on me after her performance in Out of the Furnace and now here. Those performances really aren't that different, but she still handles them really well. But Ruffalo just really, really owns this movie, and like I said, makes the character just as hilarious as he is sad. And it just really finds a line there to where I felt like it really, really dealt with this stuff. Saw a face in this movie that blew my mind. Keir Delay is in this movie as Mark Ruffalo's dad. If you don't know him by name, that is Dave in 2001. He was also in a really great movie called David and Lisa, I think it was called. It's a great movie, I have to say. I think it was called that. And it has a really, really sweet ending. The ending of this movie is really, really nice. The whole scene has a very, very nice bittersweet quality to it that I really, really like. So yeah, it took a little bit to win me over because I wasn't quite sure what kind of movie it was gonna be. But about halfway through, it got me to where it was, and I was into it the rest of the way. So yeah, our last movie is Mr. Holmes, which you've probably heard quite a bit about by now. I'm really, really late on it.
Just finally got it, though.
Yeah, for starters, I was kind of confused about this movie because it started having like trailers come out and stuff, and people were talking about it and talking about like where its awards chances and like BAFTAs and stuff like that. That really threw me off because when I heard the concept of a piece of entertainment called Mr. Holmes, starring Ian McKellen, it's really hard to not say Ian Holm with their names combining. With Ian McKellen as Sherlock Holmes, with all the Holmes stuff we have going on right now, when I heard that, I could have sworn, and I thought for a long time, this was either a TV movie or a miniseries. I did not realize it was a legit movie.
It sounds like a miniseries, I agree with that.
But no, it is, and of course it takes a different approach. It is, Holmes is now like 93 years old, I think they said. And he's like in retirement now, but and his memory's going, and Watson's already died of old age and all that. And it turns out that the book version of him was something that Watson actually wrote about their, stories and stuff like that. But he heavily fictionalized Holmes in the stories. Like, he actually wears a top hat instead of the other hat, and he actually smokes cigars instead of the pipe and stuff like that. Cute little things like that.
Coriolanus?
And then
Kind of.
And what he's doing here is he's basically trying to come to terms with his last case is what made him retire.
Mm.
But with his, being 93 now, he can't remember what happened. So he's basically trying to dig through his memories and find out what happened during that last case. So he can write it down for himself, not in the Watson's fictionalized way, but in his real life way and how it actually happened.
Mm.
While befriending his housekeeper, Laura Linney, and her son. It's worth noting, somebody recently recommended Murder by Decree to me, which is the Holmes movie where it was Christopher Plummer was Holmes and James Mason was Watson, and they were going after Jack the Ripper.
That's cool.
Yeah. And it was a really, really cool atmospheric movie that I feel like the Hughes brothers probably found a lot of inspiration in it when they made From Hell. It was that kind of movie. But I was having a conversation with this person during this, and the Holmes character, I know this is like sacrilege. The Brits are especially going to come after me hardcore. The Holmes character has never been that interesting to me.
Huh.
I tried reading, my brother has a couple of the books I tried getting into, and that didn't really work. I saw a handful of the Basil Rathbone movies, and I don't think they're bad or anything. I just don't really find them interesting. Then there was, Murder by Decree I could barely get into, despite how well made it was. The Guy Ritchie movies are okay, but I've never really loved them either. There was the made-for-TV one with Matt Frewer, That's an abomination of a thing. There was no. I kind of like that one with Michael Caine and Ben Kingsley. That was like a comedy. The Spielberg produced movie Young Sherlock Holmes was not a fan of at all. It's really just not a story or character I'm into. I see. I said I was talking about Benedict Cumberbatch recently, and I said I hadn't seen an episode of Sherlock. That's not entirely true. I saw large portions of episodes at my brother's once, and they seemed fine. They seemed to have a fresh idea of the whole scenario, but it's just hard for me to get invested in this character. I've learned, as you can see, I've tried so many different facets, and it's just not working for me. So I kind of went into this just kind of thinking about it. And it's I do like that they take the different approach to it. And it's fine. It's a bit pokey at times, and it's very, very laid back in its pacing. But really the main attraction is McKellen's performance, obviously, which has been getting huge acclaim for a good reason. It is a really, really good performance. And that's something probably only an actor of his caliber could really, really pull out of this. Though Lenny is really good as well, and this is actually one of those movies where an older character befriends a little kid, and the kid is not entirely annoying. I'm not saying 100%, but for most of the movie, the kid is actually not annoying. But the things they explore here, it does take interesting turns. Despite the fact that it's kind of I won't say a feel-good movie, but it's a very light and pleasant movie for the most part. There's also a real big looming feeling of tragedy over it as well, which is a really kind of interesting contrast to the kind of light approach that they take to it. So yeah, it's certainly easy to watch. It's just not always entirely interesting. Like I said, it's kind of hard for me to get invested anyway, because it's just a character I'm not already kind of drawn to, which obviously would definitely add to the experience if you are. So, but I still thought it was fine. But McKellen really, really owns it. So that's basically the most important thing. So, all right, that's it.
So our star amounts for this video: knock knock,
1.5.
Pay the Ghost,
2.
Infinitely Polar Bear,
3.
Mr. Holmes,
2.5.
All right. So that was another edition of AJ's Movie Reviews. We got a brand new Versus coming out on this Sunday. So if you want to catch more AJ this week while he's gone, he's still going to be able to visit you with a Versus. So, because that's officially November. So it's crazy. We're in November now after doing Versus. It's insane. When we come back, AJ's Movie Reviews got a lot of stuff to tackle. I know Spectre's in there, Peanuts movie's in there. There's a bunch of other stuff. Our Brandis Crisis may be in there. We'll see. So, a lot of stuff to talk about. So some catch-up videos.
Yeah.
Catch-up videos plus AJ's Movie Reviews coming in next week. So that's what we've got for this week. Hopefully you guys and girls out there enjoyed the videos while I'm in Orlando. And if you enjoyed the fact that I have some sipping snacks that I filmed while I was in Orlando. And I will put those out through the duration of the rest of the year. So that being said, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. We're at Halloween Horror Nights tonight, since it is the Halloween spirit after all, because it's Devil's Night after all. You're more than welcome to join us for the Pop Meetup. Say goodbye to Halloween Horror Nights 25 weekend, the second of 3, and that's tonight, RSVP, if you'd like to go to that and just show up at NBC Sports Grill, and we'll see you there. So that being said, thank you guys and girls out there for watching. AJ, any parting words?
That's it.